Animal Crossing New Horizons is on the horizon. See what I did there? I'm usually funnier than that, I promise. Anyway, the game looks pretty solid. It's a big, fat, sugar-coated, diabetes-inducing treat to Sweet Town, and you can design your own island. You've got an airport that's run by an extinct species of animal. You and the squad can just knock about and trample the local wildlife. You can get drunk sailors just turning up on your beach all like, I live here now. As far as life sims go, this game's got it all by the looks of it. Hit the like button if you're looking forward to this game as much as I am. Today we're going to draw Tom Nook, the guy who's always there to ensure you're never not in debt. But it's not a bad thing in his case. It's an interest-free loan. It gets you on the property ladder and there's no due dates on payments, so actually thinking about it, he's about the worst businessman ever. Regardless, he's iconic and he's easy to draw too. Subscribe to the channel and ensure you watch this video all the way through so that you don't miss any cool tips that I drop along the way. Now, usually what we do when we start drawing our characters is we start off by drawing a big circle for the head. We're actually not going to do that for this particular tutorial. Tom Nook and a lot of Animal Crossing characters have a very specifically shaped head. It's almost like a bell, I guess, but without the, doesn't really have much of a top. It's just kind of flat at the top like that. But the cheeks certainly come out quite far. So try and get this shape going on, and the head is at an angle. And if you draw a line down the middle here, to kind of cut the head in half, that'll help show you that the body's kind of making this sort of shape here towards the bottom. So if you can picture like the floors here, the whole body's kind of got this leaning back pose that we're going for here, because that's what's in the reference picture, and it definitely suits Tom Nook's character to have him leaning back like this. It's a very laid back character, all things considered. So just going to kind of solidify those lines there. Try and get that shape where it's a little bit more narrow at the top and a bit wider at the cheeks, just like that. If you can get this bit right, you can definitely get the rest of the drawing right. So that's why we start with this. We get the nice difficult bit done first. So now we'll add a couple of ears. Those ears are just basically weird little oval shapes on the tops of the head, right where the head begins to kind of angle downwards at the sides, and within those some more ovals, actual complete ovals rather than ovals that get cut off where the head starts, and they just kind of sit there like that, and the ears at that point are pretty much already done. Now, before we draw any of the features in, such as the eyes or the nose or anything like that, we may as well start drawing out the actual shape of Tom Nook's body. So this is the torso, and it's kind of got a teardrop shape, I guess, without the top. If you can imagine the top of a teardrop inside here, but we're not going to see that. That sits within the head, I guess, if you were to kind of look at it that way. So it's definitely got this kind of dumpy kind of look. It's definitely wider at the bottom and quite narrow at the top where the arms come out. So if you can get that shape right, then the rest of it is super, super easy. So the arms, we're just going to draw one arm just kind of sticking out, waving like this, and it looks like a bent lollipop stick as it comes out from the side of the body and just underneath the head. And then this arm, we're going to draw this one tucked in behind his back because that is a common pose for him, and we'll just draw the front of this arm, just kind of folding over that guideline there. And if you draw that little bit there, it really improves the look of this being a folded part of his body, just going over the very, very top of his torso there. We immediately achieve this great look of this arm going behind the body. So here we've got a couple of very, very short legs. Animal Crossing characters, God, they all have very, very short, stumpy legs. So just a couple of little sticks kind of hanging down there. It helps a tiny bit if you make the top ever so slightly wider than where the feet are. And while we're down here, we may as well draw a hem for his trousers or his pants, depending on where you're from. And those are his feet just kind of sticking out the bottom, but they don't really have any discernible details, so you can just leave them as little stumps. And again, while we're down here, we may as well just draw this blob at the back, and this is his tail. And again, his tail doesn't really have any discernible features. It doesn't have like stripes like a typical raccoon. We don't want any of that. It's just a typical kind of brown tail there. So now that we've got most of the basic shapes in, we can start adding in some features. So we'll start with some really simple ones. For example, the arms. We just need to draw a couple of lines around the arm like that. So we've got a hand sticking out at the end, and this is his sleeve, and this is the rest of his sleeve. And for this one, we don't really have to worry because the hand is actually tucked behind his back. So this arm is basically done at that point. So now we'll move up to the face. Now, I think when it comes to drawing the features, at least, the hardest part to get right is the eyes. So I think we should start with this eye. This eye is fairly round, but it's a little bit taller than it is wide, if you know what I mean. So I'm going to draw that now. So try and get that as rounded as you can, but a little bit stretched up and down, if you can picture that like that. So it's a little bit taller than it is wide. That's a very, very typical kind of thing for cartoon characters, but it's very easy to overdo it. Then draw a slant, and it's important that you get that slant right, so it's high up here and low down here, and then a little iris just kind of sticking out underneath, and we achieve that really kind of characteristic Tom Nook, tired, kind of sleepy eye look. Now this eye is basically going to be the same thing, but it's going to be ever so slightly narrower, just a little bit narrower. Can you see that this eye is a little bit like squished inwards like this compared to this one? Well, that's because of the angle that we're looking at Tom Nook from. So again, we just need to look at this slant here, make sure it's high there and low there. And now pupil just kind of hanging out underneath that eyebrow there. Eyelid rather. He doesn't have eyebrows now I think about it. And now for the nose. So we can actually use this guideline that we drew at the start, this central guideline, as a guide for where we're going to draw the nose. Now if you look at the bottoms of each of these eyes, one there, look at the bottom and think about where they meet in the middle. Just faintly draw a line across that very faint, because you're not going to keep that line, it's just a guideline. And that will help us to aim where we want to draw the nose. And the nose, the very tip of his nose, because he's looking this way just a little bit, tiny bit. So the nose is not going to be far from this midpoint. It's going to be just about here. So draw that tiny little kind of flick there. And it's only looking small at the moment, but his nose isn't very big because he's a very kind of cute, cuddly cartoon character. So the nose is kept very small, as is traditionally done with cutesy characters. And we'll just draw his fur pattern around his muzzle here. Just kind of join it into a weird kind of circle shape with a point. So just bring it right around there and to the top of the nose. And you're done with those guidelines there. So now we'll just draw in his very characteristic raccoon mask. Raccoons generally have this. It makes them identifiable out of various different species that might look the same. So we're just going to draw that mask around his eyes. And there we go. Make sure you don't accidentally erase that when you get rid of your guidelines later. And now for the torso. So we'll just draw a line and try and get it to curve. Try and get this kind of curvy look. So it actually looks like it's wrapped around the torso. Once you get that one there, you can draw another one just like it right above. So we'll curve that around the body. And now you can have a bit of fun. You can just kind of relax, switch off while you draw some lines from top to bottom, like this. Just that kind of dad sweater thing going on. And speaking of that, dad sweater, we're going to finish off the details here. So we can just draw a little V underneath the head here. And then another bigger V just kind of sitting underneath that one, just kind of hugging it in place. Then we've got a little tie, so we can just add the top of the tie here, just a little block. And then a bit down here that goes wide as it enters underneath the sweater and kind of gets hidden away. We've got a little clip for a pen here, because you know what kind of self-respecting businessman doesn't have a pen in his top pocket at all times. And now for the little pattern on his sweater. You can save this for later when you're colouring in if you like, but if you want to know how to design it, here's a really easy way. You basically just want to draw 3 diamonds, try and get one smack bang in the middle as much as you can, and then one next to it there. If it helps, you can kind of draw a line down the front of his body and make sure that the middle of that matches up with the middle of this diamond here. Once you've drawn that pattern, you start a line here, you go down to about here, then go through this one to here, and then you bring this one down to about there. And then you basically do the reverse, so you start here at the bottom, you go up and over, down and under, up and over, like that. And then it helps to draw a smaller diamond inside each of these diamonds, because that's kind of how it appears on his actual sweater design. And our sketch of Tom Nook at this point is already done. That was nice and quick and easy, wasn't it? Compared to some things we've drawn over time, that's certainly one of the easier ones. So I don't know about you, I'm going to grab my my inking tool and actually go over the lines I want to keep. I'm going to get rid of this guideline here. Don't need any of this kind of nonsense going on. These are just guidelines to help us draw the original picture. But yeah, you should definitely do the same. Grab your Sharpie, whatever you want to ink with, and go over the lines you want to keep and maybe colour it in. I'm going to go and do that, so I'll see you in just a moment. So, how's he looking? I can feel my debts piling up already, but at least I'll have a sweet-ass island by the end of it. Not a bad deal, all things considered. Thanks again for watching, guys. Slap that subscribe button for more great drawing tutorials in the future, and if you like the video, you'll really help me in this jungle that is the YouTube algorithm. Until next time,